Oh, here we are. Oh, let me change my video. My bad. Oh, it's not. Okay, there you go. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's video, we are going to discuss Kamala Harris' interview. Kamala Harris showed up late. She showed up late. That's what Baier said. It was supposed to be a 30-minute interview. It's supposed to start at 5 o'clock. However, Kamala Harris and her team did not show up to Fox News in Pennsylvania, not until 5:15. So they were already on time constraint. Okay, I think Kamala Harris, her whole strategy was show up late, give a word salad, blame Trump every now and then the interview will be over. However, Baier did not allow her to do that. He actually asked her policy questions. He actually asked her about her record, her tenure as the vice president and Joe Biden's presidency. Okay, she's in office now. So he held her feet to the fire. Now, everyone is talking about this interview. You have conservatives saying, oh, Kamala Harris, her campaign ended because she showed up for this interview. And I think, quite frankly, she just sealed the deal. She's not going to get reelected, or she's not going to get elected because she was never reelected. She's not going to get elected. And then you have some liberals are saying, oh, she was strong. She held her own. She went into the lion's den. No, this is her only tough interview that she actually ever had to sit through. All the other interviews were like, but Baier, and a lot of people were saying they didn't think he was going to be tough on her. I think he was kind of irritated for being very disrespectful and showing up late. And she tried to use a tactic of, beating around the bush and not answering the question. And I think that's why he came in hot. So we'll take a look at that. You guys stay tuned on another episode of Business Talks. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. That's right. You guys put in the chat. Let me know where you're viewing from. Let me see who we have in the building. I see we have Celeste Hodges from Texas. Thank you for tuning in. Darren Tillman. Let's get into it. Good afternoon to you. Anger mismanagement. Hello from the Marxist bootlicker strong. I know you're just being funny. Anger mismanagement. Justin Thompson. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Thank you for tuning in, Justin. Brian, happy Thursday, all from California. Thank you for tuning in, Brian. I see anger mismanagement. Heels up. Harris got scraped. Only a Marxist bootlicker would think she did good. Exactly. Jay Jones is in the building. Just stopping through. Thank you for tuning in. She might be black. She showed up to Charlemagne interview too late too, but she said it was 45 seconds late at Charlemagne interview. Carmen, keep dreaming. Celeste Hodges, love the interview. He got her rattled. How she didn't mention I'm from the middle class. That's another thing. She didn't get her zinger in her one line. I'm from the middle class, and I'm inspired about the dreams and the aspirations of the American people. she didn't mention. She was not able to put that line in none of her answers. So I think that kind of threw her off. Darren Tillman, she did that on purpose. Exactly. Outcast is tuning in from the ATL. Lexi, what is good with you? And Justin Thompson filibuster through the whole interview. Yeah, she did. The Emperor. Good afternoon to you as well. Sandy is always great to see you, Sandy. Darren is saying Owen Mills, Maryland. And we have Muata tuning in from Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, you guys, we're going to get into it. First, we're going to actually look at the full interview today. To me, it escalated. I mean, I believe Brett came in hot, you know. I think he had to, hey, I only got 15 minutes, so I got to get to the point quickly. And I think that's a lot of times when Kamala was trying to filibuster her way through an answer and really not answer the question. I think he had to redirect. Okay, I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you that. I asked you this. What is your answer? You know, and if she took too long to give him the answer, I guess he took it as, oh, she doesn't know. Let me give it to you. And this was his strategy throughout. He did bait her in one part when he started to ask her about Joe Biden, or he started to repeat what she was saying about Donald Trump's health and mental acuity. And then he segued in, okay, what about Joe Biden's health? I mean, she just walked right into that one. And, you know, it was some other ones that about the immigration policy and her running mate, you know, policy. And the one thing that really irritates me, you guys, I don't care if you're Democrat, I don't care if you're liberal, I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're independent. Take that all out. Kamala Harris, and I'm going to point it out for you. Kamala Harris, okay, she filibustered her way through. But when he asked her specific questions in regards to policies, where are you going to support gender affirming care on taxpayers' money when people are locked up in prison and for illegal immigrants? And she goes to say, I'm going to follow the law. This is a problem, you guys. If you don't see the problem, I'm going to tell you. If a potential president, cannot firmly stand on their values and their issues, you have a problem. They're trying to pull one over on you. She's afraid to say where she actually stands on her policies. She's afraid to put out to the American people her policy positions. Remember, this is why she flip-flopped. Somebody told her in her camp, hey, if you want to win, you got to come off that liberal cliff. You need to be more moderate and stop touting all that extremism. Even though you believe it, you need to stop doing that. This is why she cannot definitively answer where she is positioned on different policies, because she's very extreme. And everyone should have a problem with that. Why can't, oh, I'm going to follow the law. You already told everybody, there's an old video out there, with the stroke of your pen, you could, you know, change the course of history. She didn't use those words, but she said with the stroke of her pen. With the stroke of your pen, you can enact an executive order and the law will be the law. What are your positions? So if you don't get anything out of this interview, you need to be very wary about Kamala voting for Kamala Harris, because she cannot stand on specific policies, she or her positions, or even her values. You're afraid to answer that. Anyway, let's get into it. We're gonna play the interview first, okay? Let me just share this with you.
Trump abortion bans. Pregnant women suffering from a miscarriage being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail. The freedom to make decisions about one's own body should not be made by the government.
Do you need a loan for your business? Well, if you've been around for over a year, I'm about to show you how to get up to $3
million, which is why the job was open.
Teachable's giving me a
So we're going to go over this interview. You know, I'm going to interject sometimes, and then Sunny Hostin she joined MSNBC, and I'm going to play parts of that interview because I think Sunny Hostin, she's being very fake and disingenuous. You know, I think when you say to a woman, yeah, she's strong and she stood firm and all that stuff, and she did the very opposite, I think you're just being fake. You're being fake. And Kamala Harris actually did not exhibit leadership to me in this interview. I think she was getting very upset by the end of the interview because she wasn't able to answer the questions firmly.
The issues that they're looking at this
election. You guys let me know if you could hear this audio.
Election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but do you, just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point.
Just answer the number, Kamala.
The point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me tell you what $5 means to my campaign.
Kamala Harris is already frustrated because Brett Baier is very prepared he already anticipated what her answers would be. And Kamala trying to give this long explanation of not answering the questions is quite ridiculous. Just answer the question. And you see she didn't know how many people they caught and released at the border and let go in our country illegally. Over 6 million people. 85% of the people that they caught trying to cross the border illegally, they let them over here anyway. 6 million people.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem.
The problem with Kamala's defense on this one, that border bill was 9 months ago, or I don't even think, was it 9 months ago? Maybe 6 months ago. But we had 3 years in you and Joe Biden's leadership where you just sat on your hands. Okay. She mentioned this other border bill, and actually that bill was supposed to process legal people coming in faster. It didn't deal with the influx of immigrations or illegal crossing our border. So, and that was at the beginning of the administration. But you notice Brett Baier pointed out that all the restrictions, the things that Donald Trump put in place, they overturned those. Those are executive order. They overturned most of those in day one. So you sat on your hands for damn near 3 years, a little bit over 3 years, and then you blame, hey, it was Donald Trump's fault. That doesn't make any sense.
Instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all,
Kamala has a problem with accountability. She has a problem with accountability, and she's really upset about this question. He just asked her, do you owe those 3 families of these 3 young girls an apology? And coming to find out, I don't know if Joe Biden ever reached out to these people, the families of these young ladies, but Donald Trump has. He's not even in office. This is what I'm saying. Kamala Harris doesn't even have the compassion to reach out to the people that their laws cause of the harm of your American citizens. And now you're pissed off because somebody brought it up.
First of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe that?
Look at her face. She don't know it looks like she about to have a breakdown because she knows she's wrong. You could look at Kamala's face. This is only 6 minutes in, and her face looks like defeat.
Them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss, sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all
her?
fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I'm working harder than ever to provide for my...
Kamala has no answers to these questions, okay? She's going to filibuster, beat around the bush, word salad us to death. She's not going to answer no questions at all in this interview.
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that.
But if we look at the numbers, you're the far worse. Even Obama did way more than you. Matter of fact, he deported more immigrants or illegals out the country than Donald Trump. Your record is the worst record in the last 12 years. It's your record.
I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist, they will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
This is another thing. You guys, we can't have a president to say, oh, Congress has to do this. No, you're going to be the president. You need to do it. Every other president did it before you. They never passed a comprehensive border bill. You guys put it in the chat. Have they ever passed a comprehensive border bill? Ever since I've known of the border, I've never heard them saying, "Oh, we came together to pass a comprehensive border bill." Every president enacts an executive order based off what they believe the border should look like. You know, and then you get some Republicans or Democrats getting mad about it. But it's always been an executive order. You're playing the blame game. You have to be accountable of your actions, Kamala. Just own up to it. I think people will respect her more if she just owned up to the things that she did in the last 3.5 years. And she's not owning up to any of it. That's how the system works. We know how the system works. And then she's talking to the camera, which is us, the American people, like we don't know how the system works. Like we ain't been around Why are we watching Fox? Why are we watching you, Kamala? Because we're trying to get some answers.
Premise of this question. There were 90 plus executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when
Kamala, you guys will see the transition in this interview. She went from the almost concerned mom to all the way up to a Karen at the end of the interview. I said she was unhinged, but it was like an unhinged Karen. You know, it wasn't like threatening or anything like that. It was like almost laughable. Like she sounded like a true Karen. Not an angry black woman, a true Karen.
When you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
Why can't you state your stance, Kamala? This is why nobody should vote for Kamala. You can't even if it's not popular, just state your stance. We will follow the law. You're not applying for, a management position. She act like she's going to be like a cop. Like you're not applying to be a cop. You're not, that's a lawyer. Maybe that's a lawyer answer. No, you're applying to be the leader. Americans' leader. We will follow the law. No, what is your stance on border? What is your stance on illegal immigration? Not I will follow the law, because you could put an executive order and put whatever you want in place. This is a problem. She's going to do it again, too.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
No, but let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
The best side hustle to do in 2024 is to get a fully remote online job that takes 2 hours a day to do.
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed.
But Donald Trump said, hell no. What are you saying, Kamala? Well, we already seen the commercial. You support it. Donald Trump said, hell no. Hell no, we're not using American taxpayer citizen money on illegals to get transitions and criminals to get transitional surgeries. What is your position, Kamala? Not I will follow the law. You sound ridiculous.
You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what? You got to take
during
responsible for what happened in your
presidency.
administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in.
You have to take responsible of what happened in your administration. Hello? Why can't you do that, Kamala? You just said you can't throw stones when you're living in a glass house. Why can't you take responsibility what's happening under your administration?
In his presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassessment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on plans for the American people, I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker, would ignite inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, were just...
But that doesn't mean anything. You spent your career as, I guess, a prosecutor. I don't know how many cases she has prosecuted. But you always worked for the government. So it doesn't mean anything. You don't have any type of business acumen. All you know is how to stick it to the American people. That's all you know. That's all you used to. How you could use your tax funded, that's how you pay your bills, is off the back of people's taxes. You never had any other job to work off your own merit. You guys let me know. So she's a career politician. Just because you just got in Washington, 2016, but you're a career politician. The majority of offices you held, you had to run for. All the offices or all the jobs you ever held, they were funded by taxpayers. So what are you talking about? You're not coming with fresh new ideas. You just went from a smaller government to now a bigger government.
On stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Have you ever dreamed about living in glorious harmony with nature and like-minded individuals, going off-grid and being...
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam Vice
Really, Kamala? And Donald Trump has been running for office? Is that your comeback? Come on. Donald Trump, why is she so... Just answer the question. I mean, okay. I believe this is a strategy they could have done. F Joe Biden. You're running for office now. You screwed them anyway. You stabbed them in the back. You're the guy. You need to run Joe Biden down. If I was her, she's not winning. Because right now she looks like a crazy person. She keeps on blaming Trump while she's the person that's in office. Donald Trump, okay, he's been busy running his campaign, but also he's been busy fighting lawsuits and criminal charges that you guys are putting against him. So, and he's not in office. This guy is not in office. And only reason why he's covered a lot prior to like the campaign ramping up is because you guys were criminally prosecuting him. And everyone sees that this, mainly most of the prosecuting or, the criminal charges that you guys are putting against him, we know is biased. It's a bunch of crap. So you keep on focusing in on Donald Trump when Brett is trying to focus in on your tenure. You're in office right now. If I was her, I would be throwing Joe, if she actually wants to win. Maybe she doesn't want to win, but I would be throwing Joe Biden under the bus. Yeah, that was our last, I was following the direction of Joe Biden, but under my leadership, this is why we changed the border. I went to Joe Biden 3 months ago after that border bill didn't pass, and we had to switch things up because I was following the direction of Joe Biden and it didn't work. So this is what we decided to do. That's why you see the numbers go down drastically, because I did such and such and such and such. Separate yourself from Joe Biden. Throw Joe Biden under the bus. Why are you trying to still put Donald Trump out there and he's not even in office? You look like a crazy woman. She really looks crazy at this point. She said, oh, but Trump was running? What does that have to do with anything?
I both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to rewind it.
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about and what separates us.
Madam
That
Vice
is
President, more than
turning the
70% of people
That is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
people
70% of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people have become. But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed.
Why is she talking like that? This is election of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy. We know that, Kamala, but why is 50, if he's so crazy, if Donald Trump is deranged and crazy, why do half of the people support him? And you come with that answer. She didn't say, but she normally calls Donald Trump supporters and other Kamala Harris supporters. They said we're stupid. That's what they say about us. We're stupid, especially black folks. You voting against, you voting for your master, or, coon and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, why is she talking baby talk now? I'm not for sure. Like I said, Kamala went from being a mother, then to a Karen in this whole interview. I don't understand her. This is wow.
Supposed to be, it is not supposed to be a
So
cakewalk
are they misguided, the
for anyone.
50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid? What
oh
is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
The significance of that.
You call Donald Trump... he's misguided. You say now
he's
unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this.
Does she remind you of a Karen? He is unstable. He is unstable, Brett. He's not stable. What is wrong with you? She's like deranged. TDS. She has Trump derangement syndrome. This was hilarious.
Up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
The significance of that.
Call Donald Trump...
She tried to get like a speech going on and, riled up, like, this is, democracy. He is unstable, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And Brett was like, okay, let's move forward. We already know what they called him in these books. We're and on mainstream media, we're gonna move forward. You're not gonna give this long, drawn out speech about nothing. Peep this. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Trump.
He's gonna ask her about Joe Biden's mental acuity.
He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many
what is wrong with you?
That Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several hours on each occasion, that Iran posed a threat to Israel. I was there, most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do, to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself, and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
but those
is,
proxies were getting funded by
my commitment
Iran.
to that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions in
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates in billions.
And then it was during Donald Trump's
that
administration
go
that
Iran.
Mike Rogers said he supports all restrictions on abortion. He backed 4 bills to ban abortion with no exceptions, even to save a woman's life. We have to stop Mike Rogers.
You want us to get filthy rich.
I'm like blown away, so it does.
Regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches, not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished the significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
Well, I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more to say,
There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we invited you here.
I invite everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
And that's why
intend
we
to do to
invited you
strengthen our
here,
economy.
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
To support America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap
well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey,
You guys put it in chat. This was horrible for Kamala Harris. This was absolutely horrible for Kamala Harris. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't even think she was prepared. You thought you was going to walk into an interview and bash Donald Trump. I think that's what she thought. It was going to be a contrast. Oh, pick me because I believe and I feel joy over Donald Trump. And he talks about, oh, he's an angry orange man. Don't vote Donald Trump. No, they want to know about policies, and you was not prepared because Brett, he knew and he anticipated your answers. He knew that you was going to go off on a deep end and not even answer the questions. Word salad after word salad. What the hell were you talking about, Kamala? I wrote down, she referenced Donald Trump 5, 10, 15, 20, 23, 26 times. Either saying Donald Trump his name or she referred to him as him or he. 26 times in the span of 27 minutes. And then you wonder why people are on the fence by you. You can't even stand on your own 2 feet. Even if Donald Trump is bashing you, he will answer the question and then he'll throw a zinger in. Yeah, unlike my opponent. Donald Trump, matter of fact, he was on PBD podcast. I don't know if you guys follow him. It's Patrick Bet-David podcast. And they were talking about the economy. Now, if anybody knows anything about Patrick Bet-David, you know he's a real red person. He knows all the things about economy. So they were actually talking about economics and having a long, full-length conversation. We know Donald Trump has a high IQ. You can't hold a conversation with Patrick Bet-David on economics and think you're going to pull one over. You can't go to Bloomberg. He had another talk with Bloomberg. Actually, I guess he was the guy who interviewed, and on Patrick Bet-David, he was saying that he didn't know he was going to interview with this guy, but I guess this guy that interviewed with him was one of the top people at Bloomberg. And he was going toe-to-toe with him about tariffs. Because, of course, people in economics or like universities, they think, oh, the study is going to work out in real life. This is the main problem with people that don't actually do the work and they just read a bunch of books. They're not actually out there, you know, they don't have a business in China. They never traded anything. They don't know about financial markets. So, of course, they're looking to these people, professors at these universities that don't even have real life experiences. And this is why Kamala Harris said, oh, I had 16 professors from Wharton Business School evaluate my plan. And they said my plan is far greater than Donald Trump's plan. But Donald Trump, he's been trading over in China. He probably has a couple of businesses in China. I know his daughter does. They brought it up. They brought his daughter on a patent. It's like bath mats in China. And somebody actually brought it up. Oh, she has a manufacturing company in China, or she owns a patent in China. So why wouldn't you want to get information from the person that's actually doing it? So, and this is why the American people knows that you are not competent enough to run the United States. You mentioned a man 26 times, and he didn't. Brett's question was specifically on your tenure, on what you did while you were in office. And you couldn't even answer those questions. You couldn't even answer the questions on policy positions. You said, oh, I'm going to follow the law. No, what is your stance? Do you believe that should be a law, or do you believe that should be a policy? That's what people want to know. Even if they don't agree with you, at least they will know where you stand at, but nobody knows. You so wishy-washy. You're fake, you're phony, Kamala. And I don't understand how people could continue to support this lady, because you're so against Donald Trump. Even though Donald Trump is the best for your interest, you still going to vote against him because the media got you saying, oh, he's racist. Well, who gives a damn? And he's not a racist, by the way. But if he was, who gives a damn? Does his policy affect you in a positive way? That's what you really need to look at. Does it affect you? Not if, oh, Kamala is black, let me vote for her. Her policies doesn't, you rather be poor and unemployed because you vote a black woman in, per se, than voting a Donald Trump, just a white man, a rich white man. As Kamala Harris would put it, he was handed $400 million. You rather vote Kamala Harris in and be unemployed than vote a guy that is going to bring American jobs, bring back American companies back into the U.S., close the border, and strengthen our economy. Because you said, oh, I don't like the way he talk. You don't have to lay down with the guy. You don't have to marry him. You don't even have to give him a kiss. You could say F Donald Trump and still bubble his name in. I can't stand this man. I heard some black guys was talking about that. I can't stand this man, but I'm still voting for him. That's how we need to think. Or we're going to end up like Donald Trump said, the rest of America going to be like San Francisco or like Detroit. And I'm not talking about downtown Detroit. I'm talking about the inner city of Detroit, a damn ghost town, losing jobs. They're bleeding out jobs because the auto industry is suffering. Anyway, let me show you this other clip. This is Sunny Hostin. Sunny Hostin, she joined MSNBC.
I'm going to take just one.
And she acts as if, oh, you know, I get so tired of them doing this to black women and blah, blah, blah. It's like, what do you, number one, when Kamala got mad, I didn't think she was a black woman. I thought she was like some Karen person trying to argue. I did not feel threatened. Sometimes when black women get mad, you be like, ooh, she gonna give me a spanking? Like, that's how you feel. Kamala, I didn't get that. I got a white woman from San Francisco. That's what I got. Or Canada. That's what I got. I didn't feel no blackness in her anger. I didn't get it. I got a mom, a kind of mom like, it's gonna be okay. You know, presidency is hard. Till you raising your voice, and she was mad as hell. But not no hood anger. She ain't from no hood. Maybe she got the middle class anger. That's where that's from. She has the middle class angry Kamala Harris. Anyway, but what I was getting at is Sunny Hostin trying to say that, oh, I'm just so tired of people saying that she came off like an angry black woman. Nobody's saying that. I didn't see not one title saying, oh, she came off as an angry black woman. I saw that she got demolished in this interview and she was unprepared. unequipped, word salad. That's what I get. She couldn't hold her own. I'm going to fast forward.
He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of...
Listen to this title. Sonny hosting on Fox Fight and Black Woman Power. Why would you even put that on there? That's not Black woman power. She sound like she whining. We know she mad, but I don't see no Black woman power. We don't fight like that.
Of America should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
An emphatic warning there. That's brand new sound. We're airing that for the first time here on MSNBC moments ago in her first ever interview on Fox News. Sunny Hostin is here. What was striking in that moment is that she didn't just take the selected clip or sound that for whatever reason they chose.
Misinformation.
Right. That sort of was a dodge to it, but reframed it back to what she says are very serious threats to abuse power. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, she was factual. And I'm actually surprised that they would play that clip. And I watched the entire interview in the green room. I had the pleasure of doing that. And what I saw is someone who loves this country, who is competent, who is fit to be the president of the United States, who is in complete command of the facts and understands the state.
Now, why is she using words like she is fit, love this country, and who she's in command? These are, you heard it here first. I'm pretty sure mainstream media is going to use these talking points. I saw a woman who is fit. What does that mean? Who is competent? Okay, people say Kamala Harris is incompetent, and I believe that to be true. And who is in command? I guess because she has to appear strong. Just because you decided to give this speech that everybody hears, and matter of fact, she tried to put her speech in places where it didn't belong, instead of just having a conversation. You're having a conversation, you're asking or answering questions, not, hey, I'm going to interject this speech that I wrote and this is my angry speech. I want people to know that I'm passionate and I love my country. You don't love your country. You already proved to all of America that you do not love this country by your negligence of your handling of the border. You and Joe Biden. You totally ignored that border situation. The people that's supposed to be getting the FEMA dollars and the FEMA rescue, you used all the FEMA dollars on illegal immigrants. And then you want everybody to say, oh, she's fit and competent and she loves our country. The American people says different, Sonny. We do not agree with you. Majority of Americans do not agree what you're saying.
And what that our democracy truly is at stake.
You've interviewed her recently.
Yes, I have.
I should mention, we're going to play this in a moment. Part of your interview was played within the Brett Baier interview that Kamala Harris. We'll get you on that. Very interesting. I was saying about Bob Woodward earlier tonight, we don't plan these things. Sometimes they just happen. Has she ever had an interview like this?
People are saying that she went on Fox News. It's the first time that she has gone on Fox News, that she, went into the belly of the beast and she went into enemy territory. I think that she did that because there are a group of people that have been fed over and over again misinformation and disinformation on Fox News.
You see how they pick up misinformation and disinformation. What does that mean? What are you talking about? Are you saying seeing just because they don't have the same talking points as you, it's misinformation and disinformation? I'm really confused now. I know that people have their own political stance. You would get liberal stances versus conservative stances. Okay. That does not mean this is disinformation and misinformation. No, we just don't agree on, or our policies don't align. So what are they saying? What is she saying? So that's the new talking point. And you guys, I don't know if you watch CNN and MSNBC, The View, they're using the word misinformation and disinformation. Matter of fact, KGP, the White House press secretary, she's been using that word a lot. What do they mean by that? So, and you're saying all the Fox viewers are ill informed. I don't know. I don't know about that. Because we could say the same thing about CNN and MSNBC, ABC and NBC, all this mainstream media. We could say the same thing.
I mean, you have a judge saying that it's entertainment and not facts and not news. And so I think it's important that she did that so that to help those people make a decision as to who is more fit to be the president of the United States. And I think her response in pointing out that key Republicans, people in his own cabinet, have said that he is not fit. And I'm a bit disappointed that what I saw, and this is not to disparage Brett Baier, because I've interviewed him too, and I know him well, and he's one of our colleagues, of course, in journalism. You know, he was a little bit dismissive. I think it's of that fact. I think it's very important when you have your own former vice president not endorse you.
Do you think that he approached her differently than other people he interviews?
You know, I saw a little bit of the panel after the interview, and one woman said that she came in hot, and also said that she became angrier. I thought he came in hot. And what I am very tired of is this trope of the angry black woman. She was not angry. She was in command of the facts. She was passionate. Passion does not equal anger. You know, I'm often called, you know, Donald Trump actually called me dumb at a rally recently. You have these tropes that are used against women and women of color in particular. And I did not see a dumb woman. I did not see an angry woman. I saw a woman who understands what is at stake. And I thought that she would.
This is the problem. And when I said, remember, if you guys are watching, excuse me, I got something in my throat. If you guys are watching and you just got in, Sunny Hostin, she's the person, if you saw her on The View, she's the person that called all the Trump supporters, in particular black men, crazy and deranged or radical, or she used something, but like psycho or crazy people. She's the person. Anna Navarro, she's the person that calls Trump supporters crazy. Something's wrong with them. Those two people, they love to call Trump supporters names. I was even in my inbox and I mentioned something about Kamala Harris ruining this interview for herself, for her campaign. And somebody took the, time out to go to another post that I posted and said, ha, 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 something's wrong with you or something. They said something about me being my upbringing. And I'm like, where did that come from? But I can only assume, they read my other post about Kamala Harris ruining her campaign because of this interview. A lot of mudslinging goes on when you do not agree with them. They like to gaslight you and say, you should be voting for Kamala Harris. And if you're not, something is mentally ill. You are a mentally ill person. Something is actually wrong with you. And that's when the names start calling. And so she's trying to say, Somebody called, or she actually put the label angry black women. Well, she was pretty upset. She was angry, but I didn't get angry black woman because most of the people don't think Kamala Harris is black. We just got an angry Karen on our hands. That's what I saw. She was angry, mad as hell, but Karen-like mad. You guys put in the chat, did you get angry black woman from Kamala? No. Tesla, if we compare Tesla Figaro to Kamala Harris and they anger, two different things. Even, I'm trying to think, somebody more sophisticated than Tesla Figaro, and that's an actually black person, you still don't get Kamala Harris angry. Kamala Harris was angry. She was, but nobody equates angry black woman. I didn't get that. I don't get angry black women when I see Kamala Harris or when she gets angry. I see a Karen from Canada. Like, that's what I see. Anyway.
It was very, very strong. And I hope people heard what she had to say, which is that Biden is not on the ballot. Kamala Harris is on the ballot. And what you have is a binary choice, Kamala Harris or someone who is unstable, as told by his own former staffers.
Well, and I appreciate exactly how you put it. People can listen to that and keep your points in mind.
Another thing I want to point out, the issue at hand is you can't say I'm going to go on an interview and direct the interview questions. You can't say that. Trump is doing interviews, and now they need to pose questions. Okay, hey Trump, what are your plans to make the economy better? And he, hey, I'm trying to usher our economy, because if you look at my past record, we had the greatest economy. Okay, in a contrast to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they pretty much ruined our economy. That's his position because he's out of office. Your position, Kamala Harris, you're in office. Hey, Kamala Harris, based off of your record, blah, 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 blah. How would you plan to usher our economy into a better and stronger economy? How would you plan to combat inflation? They didn't even get to those type of questions because we focused on the border. Well, you had 4 years to take care of this border issue, which it was a non-issue when you came in. You made it an issue. Hello, he mentioned 90 plus executive orders that they overturned in the first few days when they got into office. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made the border an issue. So now that you made it an issue, you didn't do a damn thing. We have every right, or the interviewer has every right, to question you on your position, where you're at. You are in office. You were in office for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. So he has every right to question your position, not making a comparing and contrast. And if we do comparing and contrast, we got to go off of Trump's prior record, his 2016 record versus yours. And comparing it, Trump is far better, way better than you, than what you are or where the economy in America is today. We not making contrasts. Oh, she gives me joy inside. And this is what the problem is, why this woman shouldn't be talking. Because you think people are going to vote because they feel joy. Well, people are not joyful. They're not joyful if they can't put groceries on the table. They're not joyful if they can't fill up their gas tank. They're not joyful if they're like, oh, I can't pay my lights this month. I gotta, maybe pay my water bill because my water bill is due. Then I gotta pay, oh, I can't pay my phone bill this month. I have to pick it up double time next month. That's what people are struggling with now. But you don't feel the pains of regular American people because you make over $1 million a year. That's why nobody should be listening to none of these people. They're not even normal people. They don't have the same pains that we have. No one feels joy if they can't even fill up their damn gas tank. No one feels that. No one feels all warm and fuzzy inside. You guys let me know in the chat. I was about to say something real sexist, but I won't do that to you. This last one I want to share with you. This is the aftermath of the interview. This is the aftermath of the interview. And let me get to some of your comments. Oh, Rains, thank you for the super chat. Rains Contrail, I believe you're tuning in from the UK. These are pounds, so somewhere in that area. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you for the 2-time super chat. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me just read some of your comments here. I see Jesse Douglas is saying, when there's a man in the house, that's when all the BS stop. Hello. This should be the comment of the day. The comment of the day, when there's a man with real balls. I was about to say something similar to that when I was talking about Sonny. I was about to say something. And it would have been totally sexist, so I didn't want to say anything like that. Lexi, she talks to everyone else like they're stupid. Exactly. Donald Trump, Edna said Donald Trump lives rent-free in her head 24/7. Like, woman, what is wrong with you? She mentioned Donald Trump 26 times. She referred to Donald Trump 26 times, and she was only on air for 27. Like, what are you at? You could have got a whole bunch of other stuff in besides, like, ranting and raving about Donald Trump. Right now, she does look like a crazy person, especially at that very end when Brett was agreeing, and she was like, he is insane. He is. Like, what is wrong with you? She was like a mad dog with a bone. Slow, I think that's what, Slow Jen. Even when Kamala goes on shows like The View, she still fails. She needs someone to hold her hand during interviews. Exactly. Sandy Rodriguez, she loves this country, but open the border door and let millions of illegal immigrants in. Right. Tyrone Price, seems like VP Harris taking reflective speaking at the CIA. Darren said, true Karen. She is a true Karen. Justin Thompson is saying, show me an example where Kamala Harris shows that she loves the country that doesn't have anything to do with her gaining power in government. Exactly. She don't need to be in office. Mr. Wombat is saying the difference between mis and disinformation. I don't know. I really don't know. Mis and disinformation. I don't know. These are new talking points that the liberal likes to, beat our head in. Remember, they took on the other word, threat to democracy. I guess they moved over. That word is done and over with. They want to use this and misinformation. Okay. Florence is saying these people don't worry because they don't live like the most of us, like normal people. They have millions in security with them and live behind the walled gates, so they don't care about us. No. I'm pretty sure, when was the last time Sonny Hostin walked up in the grocery store and bought a carton of milk? Probably never. She probably never pumped her own gas. Doubted she probably ever drives. She probably has a driver. I doubt she knows the painstakes of the regular American people. Sonny and her gang are professional turd polishers. Outcasts, remember they used misinformation during the pandemic. Yeah, so I guess they're trying to rebrand the word misinformation. Reigns is saying, where the party at though? Israel? Celeste Hodges, those people against Trump are part of the deep swamp. Yes. And you know, another thing, these are people that probably was fired in his term. Now we can't just say, what's his name? The ex-VP. He wasn't fired, but you know, the American people spoke at January 6th. They really didn't like, I can't think of the guy's name now. Pence. They didn't like Pence. When Pence said he was going to certify the election, they was like, kill Pence. Don't certify the election. And I only think, I knew January 6th was kind of crazy. But what I think of it is, hey, these people, and when I say these people that really were passionate about, hey, I think they are trying to steal the election. And coming to find out, in Georgia and other states, they were miscounting or hid ballots. And even the election certifier, I forget what, but it was in Georgia. They basically said, yeah, we owe Donald Trump an apology. And you didn't have Governor Kemp apologizing. You know, he just ran behind the curtain and decided not to speak on it. But they did a whole press conference saying, yeah, they owe Donald Trump an apology. Anthony saying if he was dismissive, it's because Kamala was late and cut the interview down in 15 minutes when it was supposed to be an hour. Exactly. She came in extra late. They used misinformation when it came to FEMA not doing a good job. Yes. When did Black women become victims of all society? I think this is a new thing, you know, feminism, you know, that wave came through, and then Me Too moment. Then now it's like Black women, we were just like one of those victims that I guess we got to handle. Oh, don't say that. We got to handle each other with kid gloves on, which is totally ridiculous. So what about accountability? You know, we're saying that Kamala Harris shouldn't be accountable for her term. That's basically what they're saying. She shouldn't have to answer these types of questions. I'm quite confused, because if it was the white man, you will want him to be responsible. They still bring up stuff about what happened during the pandemic with Donald Trump. They still bring that stuff up. So if he still has to answer questions about that, why wouldn't Kamala, like right now in office, why wouldn't she have to answer questions about what's going on in the office or in America now under her leadership, her and Joe Biden's leadership? Anyway. So this is Brett right now. Brett is saying basically he's telling the two Fox correspondents what happened. And on this title, it says Kamala Harris wanted a viral moment, and she got it. Yeah, in the bad way. She got her viral moment, all right.
Just now, Brett, good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning. Good morning. You've had 15 hours now to marinate over this. What did you think about how it went?
You know, guys, good morning. I left there right after the interview, and I thought, wow, this was really a lot more contentious than I thought. It was there was a lot of filibustering. I didn't really want to keep on interrupting, but if I didn't, I thought there were maybe be 4 answers total in the interview. I think I came away with there were moments that clearly she prepared for, that I think she wanted to have the viral moment, and she got it, and I think her campaign was happy with that. I think there were things that Mark played and some other moments where I think a lot of people looking back at the transcript are going to say, wow, that's interesting, it's newsy, it's not what she usually answers.
One of the things you talked about at some length was immigration. And if you pull up call for number 1, this is about her reaction, the Biden-Harris reaction to migrant crime.
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that.
So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
One thing I noticed is that she didn't really seem to have a way to say, so here's what I'm going to do differently going forward, an opportunity to do that. That could have been an opportunity missed.
Yeah, and listen, Dana, that's the key thing about immigration, is that the 94 executive orders that were rescinded in the first days of the Biden-Harris administration, they opened the door. They took away the catch and release. They took away Remain in Mexico, and that's the whole thing. I mean, she wants to talk about this bill that they dropped first, which was kind of an amnesty bill to path the citizenship for 11 million immigrants in the first days that had no chance. The White House had the Democrats had the White House, the House, and the Senate, and they didn't bring it up or push it. The second bill she talks about right away is the comprehensive bipartisan bill that had 6 Democrats that voted against it. And, you know, yes, Donald Trump maybe lobbied against it, but there were also problems with that. And in between those 3.5 years was things that could have happened. And we've talked about that many times. And that's what I was trying to get to.
And then you did press her on the fact that the American people say that 79% of the country think it's on the wrong track. She tried to say, but that's because Trump's been running for 8 years. What'd you make of it?
I thought it was interesting. I just think she came back to Donald Trump, I think maybe 15 or 20 times in the interview. And that one was really interesting because I was talking about the wrong track and she said, you know what I'm talking about. And I actually didn't. And I just said, I actually don't know what you're talking about. And I think that was an interesting moment because she kept on going back to Donald Trump, who obviously hasn't been in office for the last 3.5 years.
And for those of you that didn't see last night, Brett, you explained that they got there a little late and then they tried to cut it off, so that's why you were sort of rushing at the end to let it come to a close.
Yeah, it was a quick dismount because I had a lot of people rapping me doing the big rap. But listen, I'm very grateful that they came on, and dealing with the Harris people has been fine. It was a little tense because we had a time deadline, and it started later. And originally we had 25, 30 minutes. Then it was 20 minutes. They were watching the clock, and so we had to speed things up at the end.
Brett, Mr. Gracious Baier, it was good to have you today. Congrats on that interview. I'm sure everyone's going to be talking about it for days to come. 19 days to go until the election. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley.
So, yeah, we have 19 days until the election, you guys. So, yeah, that was basically it on Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at her polling numbers. It looks like Kamala Harris... Oops. So these are the swing state. This was based off of what? Somebody posted this. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. When was this posted? This was based off of this morning, okay? This is Parley Market. They're saying Trump is predicted to win by 61%. You see, he has slight leads in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. A little bit stronger lead in North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. These are, you guys can't see my screen. So it looks like Donald Trump, based off that, I don't know if this is instantaneously. I will wait a couple of days to actually see if it would change any more, but it looks like it was from 1% up from yesterday. Okay, Kamala Harris lose 1.1 percentage points, but you see Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is important. And then these battleground states, North Carolina and Georgia, swing state of Arizona. You know, you look at Nebraska. I don't know why they got this dot on here. Oh, because they split the electoral college in Nebraska. I believe that's what that means. In Maine. So they split the electoral votes. But right now, it looks like Donald Trump is expected to win. We have 19 more days. 19 more days before Donald Trump takes office. Popular vote win, they're saying 62% Kamala Harris might win the popular vote. This was based off of I'm not for sure. This was 7 hours ago. Let me see what the political polls looks like. It's saying Trump right now expected to win. This was based off of October the 15th. Trump should win by 286 electoral votes because he's looked like he's leading in Michigan. On this one, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina. I don't know what the green means, but maybe it's undecided. But Georgia, it looks like it's red. We don't know. I'm kind of curious. Why is this not deep red in Florida? Usually Florida is no other way, but they got it kind of light red. And then, you know, somebody put up here a swing state votes from yesterday. It looks like Trump is leading in all these swing states based off of this polling number. Not for sure how much it changed since yesterday. But because this is the 17th. So not for sure. But I could only speculate that you know, Donald Trump, I think he's going to win by a landslide, actually. I really do, because I can't see someone coming back after that interview. I don't see how Kamala Harris will be able to come back because she's so practiced and so scripted. And like they said, they believe she was looking for a viral moment. But the viral moment is scripted. So you got to be genuine, you know, and people don't like when they feel like they're being played or fake. You know, people don't like that, and they starting to recognize that Kamala Harris is fake. The Rasmussen report looks like Trump is 3 percentage points. I saw on the news somewhere, some newspaper saying that Kamala is up 3 percentage points, and from yesterday. And I'm like, okay, but but everybody else is saying, oh no, she's down. So you can't really, go by polling numbers. They always going to have something that, you got to really take into account their biases and who they're polling. So anyway, you guys, I really appreciate every single last one of you. Let me just get to some of your comments. Student Paradise is saying Trump has been in the lion's den this whole time through, namely the NABJ, ABC debate. I think Vance has been on NBC. Yeah. And you know what? Vance, he goes out, do random press conferences. Matter of fact, his strategy was, and this is why he's so polished. Every city Kamala visited, he was following after her. He was like stalking her, and he hold a rally. He was holding rallies. So that's why he's so polished. And he's always been a pretty good debater. God's Graces, they softball him with questions and he never answered the question. Jay McTurnal, Kamala not getting to interview on time, bad look. Yeah, that is a bad look on her staff. Okay, Randy Smith, and he has failed every time, by the way. Did you see him at the town hall in Miami? I guess you're talking about Donald Trump. Yeah, I thought he did a pretty decent job in Miami. Are you speaking about the people that had the medical incident and he stopped the rally to tend to life-threatening whatever they were having? And he decided not to take questions because it was like, we have a medical emergencies. How can we go from there? So, they chilled out with Donald Trump just playing music for a while. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Trump failed every time, according to who? I guess according to, you got different people with different views. Every time I debate somebody on Donald Trump, they can't see, they don't make logical sense. And I'm not trying to down anybody because I got the mic, but it's like, just think logically, and I'm a business, I own a business. So, and I'm telling you, we were close to making 400 and record-breaking sales, about 425,000 my year, the last year, and then pandemic came around and sales tanked. They shut everything down, and it was like very detrimental to my business. But actually, my business has not grown since then. I mean, I do sales and stuff. It's just like, it's one of those things. That's why you see me on YouTube more. It's like, okay, it hasn't really picked up. It hasn't quite yet been the same since then. And I don't know if it has to do with anything with the inflation or what's the problem. But I know that the economy is kind of suffering, and it's a lot of things that's affecting other people. So I just look up as far as economically, I'm a ghetto girl from the ghetto hood, and when I explain to people how much money I made in my business, especially during the Trump era, they look at me like, are you serious? And it's selling blinds, literally selling blinds. And I only had another salesperson on my team. There was only 2 of us, and we were killing it. But that's how I look at it, you know. Anyway, I don't think Brett is a big Trump supporter, though. I could be wrong. No, I don't think he is. Matter of fact, Donald Trump mentioned in his interview with Patrick Bet-David that he thought he was going to go easy on Kamala, and he did not. He didn't go easy. And then he mentioned, yeah, Brett was pretty nasty to me. So Brett gave him a hard time, too. So apparently Brett is nobody to mess with. I guess he give it to everybody. Brett is like, shoot, you ain't about to ruin my career. According to most Americans, Trump failed. I'm not for sure, because now you have, like Brett mentioned in the polls, you have people thinking at hindsight. Matter of fact, I shared this polling with you. In hindsight, they feel like Trump did way better than Joe Biden. Let me see if I could pull that polling up. If I still have it in my bookmarks. I'm trying to see if I still have it. Maybe I don't. I know a couple of days ago I shared this poll where CNN was saying they believe approval rating. This is approval rating. Hindsight. President Biden approval rating was at 49% versus Joe Biden 38%. So I wouldn't call that a failure. Now, if you look compared and contrast, if you look at Clinton's approval rating, Clinton had a really high approval rating compared to Barack Obama. His approval rating was high when he left too. But approval rating, matter of fact, Barack, I think his was about 50. But Bill Clinton, I think his was about 60, almost at 60%. So we can't say people are not. We got to look, we're talking about probably 55% of people think Donald Trump is good, you know. And as far as the economy, those numbers are even larger. They're more supportive. They believe in Donald Trump, his handling of the economy in versus Kamala Harris, you know. So we can't just say most Americans, because I think that's a false statement. Celeste Hodges, 2 trolls, y'all need to go. Randy, the American people who are objective, they never answer the question being asked. There's someone named Randy in here. They should be watching The View. Keep dreaming about Trump winning. Stop lying. I mean, you know what? I like when people come in here with different viewpoints. Yeah, I think it makes my day. Randy, I think you forgot your tampon. Sandy, okay, thanks. I don't think Brett will ease up on Trump either, which I'll be okay with it. Yeah. Anywho, you guys, I really appreciate every single last one of you guys. I want you guys to tune in. Tomorrow, I'm going to put up what we're going to be talking about. So, not what we're going to be talking about, what time, because my podcast is planning to start in the evening. So I'll post the link up tomorrow once we get our ducks in a row and let you know what time we'll go live for that. Okay. So I am sending all my good to you. If I don't see you this weekend, you guys have a great weekend.